Hi everyone, welcome back to the three-part series on Kauri. This is the second video in the three-part series. The first video was looking at threats to Kauri, in particular Kauri dieback. In this video we're going to continue speaking with Tolich about why Kauri is regarded as an extremist species. We'll go through each of those factors. And then the third video is around restoration of Kauri as a species. We're also fortunate in this video to have Grant O'Neill join us. He'll be going through some of the amazing facts around Kauri as they appear in the museum. So come with me and let's go hear more about Kauri as an extremist species.
So we often refer to Kauri as extremists. Actually, Bruce Burns talks about Kauri being an extremist. And there's 5 real reasons why they are very long-lived. And they have, we've got examples of trees. Many people are familiar with Tane Mahuta, Te Mata o Ngāhere. We're talking trees that might be as old as 2,000, some even say 3,000 years old. And that's pretty impressive. So what we're seeing here is right back 1,100 years ago, is what we call the pith of the Kauri tree. So where the seed first germinated, and every year of its life the tree will add a ring, and you can literally count out these rings right through to the very edge of the tree, and basically tell the age of the tree. There's actually a science which is called dendroclimatology or dendrochronology, which specifically looks at the age of timber and the age of trees, and looks at the width of the tree rings as well, to look for clues in terms of past climatic events or how the conditions were when the tree was growing at that time. So what we can see here is where the tree rings are quite far apart from each other, that's been a very favourable year for tree growth. So you can see that wider space. When the tree has struggled a little bit more, these rings are very, very close together, so you haven't had a lot of growth within a particular year. And that's why it's actually quite hard when people ask anybody to age a Kauri just looking at it standing. It's very difficult because it comes down to the conditions that those trees have been growing in. And just over here, we've got a really good example of that, because these two trees are both 66 years old. If we sat there and counted the number of rings from the pith right out to the edge of the trunk, when you start to see the bark, there's 66 rings in both, and yet the diameter of both of these two trees is very, very different. And that comes down to the growth conditions that each of these trees experienced.
So this is a sort of modern side representation of the circumferences of some of the existing and biggest Kauri trees that were around. So the hall that we're in has a slab out of a tree that died by lightning strike, and the slice up the top is the core, a slice from the core of that tree, taken about a metre off the ground. As an indication, or relative to that, is in the front here, the picture of Tane Mahuta, which is one of the most well-known very large trees in the country. So our tree up here is about nearly 3 metres, but Tane Mahuta, this is the circumference of that tree that you see here, and many people look at when they're visiting the museum or the Northland. In terms of existing trees that are still standing, Te Mata o Ngāhere is considerably bigger than what both of those were, but the thing that's amazing about this set of rings is showing out here the circumferences of earlier known trees and how massively bigger they were than these two which are standing at the moment. So we have some really big trees at the moment, but nothing compared with what existed earlier. So this is the tree slice that we were just looking at. It was taken out of the middle here. The tree was hit by lightning in the late 1980s, so it was dead and dying. And then in 1990, it was cut down and moved here in sections because nothing else would fit on the truck and go through a sawmill to make those slices. You can see in the middle here that not only had the tree been suffering from lightning, but the central core was starting to rot. That's not to say it wouldn't have lived for considerably longer with the core. So we have here from the base to the beginning of the crown of the tree, and as well all of the balustrating and timber for this room was made out of the timber that was cut from the tree. See from this diameter of the tree, and this one's about 10 centimetres thick, the vast amounts of timber that has been removed from it and that is in a tree, which meant that these single logs were so valuable because they produced so many floorboards or so many boxes or so many everything that they were used for. And in this case, large chunks of the tree were milled for the balustrading in this room. But there still would have been considerably more because obviously this tree is this thick, and when you take it to its full length, you get considerable volume of timber from a single log. So single logs were still incredibly valuable. You didn't need to sort of cut a vast amount of trees. One tree can keep a mill going for a very long time.
Not only are they long-lived, they've been on this landscape for a very long period of time as well. So if we think about Kauri's ancestors, we're talking back to Gondwana land, 180 million years ago, right through to Agathis australis, which of course we know and love today. We're talking roughly 80 million years ago. So they've had a long time to be on this landscape and evolve different strategies in terms of how they shape that forest ecosystem that they create. One of the next things that we refer to when we talk about them being extreme, we referred to that ecosystem engineering. A lot of that comes down to what they do with their soil conditions. So they create this leaf litter, 40 to 50 centimetres in depth quite often, and that leaf litter is incredibly acidic. And that's what creates this unique pod soil environment that shapes and filters for certain conditions and other plants. So as I mentioned before, very acidic, but also what many people don't know is when we're talking about a Kauri stand, we're talking about a stand that's actually quite drought tolerant because of that. Bit of a contrast when we think about a single Kauri standing out in the middle of a field that is not going to be drought tolerant, but within their exact ecosystem where we would normally find them, they are. And because of that, those other associates we see are also often very drought tolerant species as well. Very, very different compared to other Kauri, which or other species which are non-associates, like some of our Kaprosma, for example. Again, that's part of their ecosystem engineering that they create, and it means that those associates are also likely to live in an area which is favouring that nitrogen. And really the final thing in terms of being extreme is the extreme diversity that they create as well. So in addition to those 19 plus different associates, there's also a huge range of mycorrhizal fungi that are completely dependent and unique to Kauri ecosystem. These fungi that live within the root systems of these trees, and often they can have quite symbiotic relationships in terms of how they coexist together and create those favourable environments in the tree.
So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video on Kauri, the second video of 3. Give the video a thumbs up if you did like it. Remember to comment, ask any questions, share the video, and most importantly subscribe so that you receive further future episodes. In particular, we're very grateful to have Lisa Tolich and Grant O'Neill contributing to this series. It really is excellent, so thank you very much to those people. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you in another video very soon. All the best.
I dare you dig a little deeper. makes you feel a little stronger. Who knows what you may find? You'll see in your own time. It might just take a little longer. It all goes by so slowly. Ooh, you waited your whole life. Your days turn into nights. Now let the river flow deep into the ocean. All the time you are moving with emotion. Let the river flow. Can you hear it whisper? It goes by so slow, like a solitary drifter. How dare you run a little faster? One step